call Bolton in the House, John Bolton. What's the Dems' next move? And how are you going to get anything done, Senator, if you've actually got the other side constantly pushing to find out dirt on Donald Trump?
Well, the president's been successful in spite of all of this. I hope we could turn the page as a nation and focus on issues important. But as Nancy Pelosi calls Bolton, here's what I would say. They're impeaching the president for a suspension of aid that was eventually received, trying to leverage an investigation that never happened. This is ridiculous. Mueller broke their heart. They won't let it go. They hate this man. Pelosi is no longer Speaker of the House, just in name only. I don't know if they'll ever let it go, but here's what I'm going to do. As they talk to Bolton, I'm going to bring in State Department officials and ask them, why didn't you do something about the obvious conflict of interest Joe Biden had? Joe Biden's effort to combat corruption in the Ukraine became a joke. When Joe Biden got before the Ukrainian parliament talking about sweetheart deals and reforming the energy sector, I can only imagine how they were laughing under their breath. What about your son, Vice President Biden, sitting on the most corrupt board in Ukraine, Burisma, receiving $3 million? I can only imagine if a Republican had done what Biden had done. But we're going to get to the bottom of this, and I can prove beyond any doubt that Joe Biden's effort in the Ukraine to root out corruption was undercut because he let his son sit on the board of the most corrupt company in the Ukraine, and we're not going to give him a pass on that.
So how you're not going to give him a pass? How are you going to get to the bottom of it? Should we expect your committee to call to testify Hunter Biden, the whistleblower, right, Adam Schiff, all of those names you've been talking about? Right. Is this going to happen this upcoming week then?
Right. It's going to happen in the coming weeks. Jim Risch is the chairman of the Foreign Relations Committee. Jim, if you're watching the show, I hope you are. We need to call the chief of staff to John Kerry, who was told about the conflict of interest with Hunter Biden being on Burisma's board early on. Hines, the stepson of John Kerry, was a business partner of Hunter Biden and Devin Archer, and he told the State Department, I'm not part of this deal. I don't think it's right. George Kent told the State Department it would be a conflict for Hunter Biden to be on Burisma's board. Let's start there. Let's call these people in. Eventually, we'll get to Hunter Biden. And I want to know why the Obama administration did nothing about this obvious conflict of interest. Joe Biden should have given up the Ukrainian portfolio, or Hunter Biden should be taken off the board because they ruined America's ability to effectively deal with corruption in the Ukraine by having Hunter Biden on the board of Burisma. That's just a fact, and we're going to get to the bottom of it.
I mean, you even have John Kerry's stepson writing a note to John Kerry's aide saying, yes, I don't like what's going on. We have this email here that we're going to show. And he even said, I don't want to be anywhere near this Burisma situation. We are not investing here as Hunter Biden was.
Well, those three people on that email are the first witnesses. Did the chief of staff, once notified, did he go to John Kerry and say, hey, Joe Biden's got a problem? Can you imagine what would be happening today if this were a Republican vice president whose son received $3 million from the most corrupt gas company in the Ukraine tied to Russia? It'd be front page news all over the world. We're not going to let it go, Jim Risch. You need to start it. When it comes to FISA, I'm going to call Rosenstein, Sally Yates, McCabe, and Comey to find out how a warrant was issued against Carter Page on 4 different occasions without an adequate foundation, and find out how the Department of Justice and the FBI became so out of bounds when it came to Trump.
Well, what about Adam Schiff, Senator? I mean, Adam Schiff, we know, has been lying or fabricating things for at least 3 years. He told us collusion was in plain sight between President Trump and the Russians. He told us he didn't know who the whistleblower was. He read a parody that he called it, which was not even the contents of the phone call between the president and the Ukraine leader. I mean, he's saying all of this stuff, and he's not under oath. Will you put him under oath?
The House Intel Committee, the Senate Intel Committee under Richard Burr has told us that we will call the whistleblower. Why is it important? I want to find out how all this crap started. If the whistleblower is a former employee, associate of Joe Biden, I think that would be important. If the whistleblower was working with people on Schiff's staff that wanted to take Trump down a year and a half ago, I think that would be important. If the Schiff staff people help write the complaint, that would be important. We're going to get to the bottom of all of this to make sure this never happens again. Intel, Senate Intel will deal with the whistleblower. Foreign Relations Committee will deal with Joe Biden's conflict of interest. The Judiciary Committee will deal with all things FISA. And let me tell Republicans out there, you should expect us to do this. If we don't do it, we're letting you down. And I guarantee you, if it were if the shoe were on the other foot, Democrats would be eating us alive if Republicans had done any of these things.
I can tell you for sure.